All right. Hello. So I'm going to walk us through my draft of chapters 1 and 3. Forgive my voice. I'm sick yet again. I think COVID has weakened me to the point where I can't fight off the many, many viruses Lenny keeps bringing home from daycare. So this makes 3 viruses in a month. Pretty exciting. Anyway, um, so I have reviewed my own drafts, of course, and then reviewed my feedback. And I definitely was right there with the feedback. I couldn't agree more. I've fully taken in and absorbed everything, and it all made perfect sense to me. So that's great that I'm not unclear about any of my feedback. So I think that I have a good idea of where I need to go. A lot of it was with things that I was already kind of feeling about the paper. I do feel like I wasn't able to give it the brain power and the review, a nice read through like I normally would. The suggestion of reading it out loud is great. I tell that to my students, but I didn't do that with this this paper for a couple of reasons I won't get into. Okay, so of course the introduction I makes a lot of sense. This is a little harsh, right? It's punchy, kind of punches the reader a bit in the brain. And so softening this up, easing in, giving them more like my actual human feelings and perspective on this. I think this was something where I was going from, writing more traditional, a couple of traditional research papers and lit reviews to the action research and trying to transition to that not vulnerability, but the just that human aspect there, the actual feelings and empathy that go into this. So I'm definitely gonna go ahead and retool my introduction and put in those touches throughout as well as I edit it, because I know that it was really wordy and I was not at all surprised to get that feedback. Usually I like to give myself time to go back in and cut, because I am a loquacious person when I talk and in writing. So I do tend to need to shorten my writing, and I knew that was the case when I turned this in, but it was just just wasn't able to do all the editing I would have liked to do. But so I really do feel like this was a solid draft where it does give me a good place to start, but I know that I need to go in and rework this. So getting the feedback was really helpful. Helped me give a little more direction to I knew there were issues with this and the wordiness and the way things were presented. So I have a clearer idea of where I need to go. So of course, easing in the beginning, making sure the human aspect is really coming through, so that readers find it relatable, makes sense now that I think about it with action research, right? It's not traditional research where I'm just trying to present facts and convince people that my data and my analysis either confirm or don't confirm my hypothesis. It's not so formal. And this is meant to practically address problems that we face in the classroom and in our practice, and address, these more fluid kind of human issues that we have as teachers. So it really does make sense that my proposal would be coming from that perspective too. So that makes a lot of sense. So I'm going to go back in and fix that. Okay, I just took 3 minutes to say that one thing, which you can see why I'm very repetitive in the paper, and I'm really repetitive in real life too. Working on it. Okay. So, I think I got the importance of the study across pretty well. Just a couple of minor tweaks in here. All right. I know that I'm glad the statement of the problem was done well. I think this I was trying to get, just really get all of the pieces out there, right? What are the problems? Like, what are all the little pieces of this puzzle? And so I think I thought I did pretty well with this part, and that was reflected in my feedback. I'm not really sure what happened down here. I think probably while I was doing some of my editing toward the end there, I must have deleted a piece here without realizing. So, which is why the final read through is pretty critical. So I'll have to patch that. Okay, research questions. Yes. This was what I was most self-conscious of when I turned in my paper. By far the most self-conscious, because I started with this one question, and I kind of I tweaked the wording a bit based on some other sample papers that I had seen, and then it started to morph into something else. And I like to do very cause and effect. As a science teacher, I'm used to doing cause and effect as research questions, and I strayed from that a little bit. And so I think I'm just going to reword this similarly to how it was reworded in my feedback, but I'm going to kind of take it my science teacher route, and I can go with the wording I usually use there. What is the effect of, this on this? It generally, that's how we do. Effect or impact. These, I really threw these in because I saw multiple, I kind of noticed on sample papers that there was this overarching question, and then these kind of shorter questions, almost like when you're doing curriculum design, when you have your essential questions, and you have might have an overarching question and some more topical questions. I kind of saw that in some of these sample ones, and I was like, oh, well, should I put these questions that are kind of guiding my data collection and things like that? And I threw them in there, and I kept staring back at them, and I kept deleting them and then putting them back in. And now I know deleting was the right call, and I should have stuck with that. So these questions stay in my noggin here and don't go on to my final paper. So we know that now. Yeah, I was feeling ways about these questions. Really, my uneasiness about them should have given me the hint that I needed to take them out of there. All right. Definition of terms. That was my first time doing this in a paper. This particular paper wasn't really focused on too many things that needed, to be glossaried. Is that a word? That needed to be kind of defined. These are kind of more human general principles that I'm talking about, but there are things, distance learning and hybrid. PBIS, of course, is one that will pop up in my paper and my research a few times, so I definitely wanted to get that out there, and English language learners, stuff like that. Okay, lit review. We're excited to do that. I enjoy lit reviews. They fill my brain with ideas. Okay. Methodology. Good. So I'm glad this worked out well. I just will try to ease into the methodology a bit more, reminding the reader, as was said in my feedback, that this is action research, right? And so this action research will be pursued using qualitative leaning. I have to look into that, because I had I was in my head had qualitative leading, so we'll go with leaning, and just kind of ease in that way with the nod to action research. My sample, straightforward. The materials, not bad. Yeah, I have pretty straightforward also. The procedure, I think I just need to tighten this up a bit and make sure it's not, again, just like that introduction, just make sure I'm not getting too repetitive or giving, kind of erroneous details as I tend to. But I think overall my procedures are looking pretty good. I do think as I go through 611, I think that I'll get some more ideas for the procedures. I think that it'll get a little bit clearer, and that'll help me tighten this section up too. It'll help me kind of trim the fat, because I think I'll get a little more of that clarity I keep searching for. It gets clearer. I get clearer and clearer all the time. And I think that the procedure section is one of those that's going to keep getting clearer throughout this session, this course. The analysis, again, just like the procedure, I think, I'll just, over the next couple weeks, I think I'll get, a little more, direction on this, and then I'll be able to trim the fat on this a bit as well. But I think it's in pretty good shape. But I know that in my feedback, it was mentioned that I need to emphasize the triangulation more, just to validate my methods and my approach to my study. So I'll definitely be focusing on expanding on the triangulation. So because I think I mentioned that this will be used to further triangulate here, but I didn't really explain how my data collection to begin with was triangulating. So I got to make sure to put that in there. All right, chapter 4 we'll work on. That'll come together. The references, this was actually in my review of this, my last journal, I did mention formatting, and this was the main thing that I was referring to when I mentioned formatting. I know that Dr. K reformatted this for me, but it was in Google Docs, and even went back to my Google Doc, and it was formatted properly. And when I saved it as a Word doc, I knew better. I knew I should have checked, because a lot of times when you save Google Docs to a Word doc, things will get messed up. And for some reason, these got messed up. And I think it's because I had copy and pasted some things from my annotated bibliography, which was in a different font, which we talked about. I don't know why the indentations got messed up, but that is, as soon as I handed it in, literally about 2 minutes after I handed it in, I was like, you know what, I'm going to look this over. And I saw that the formatting on this and the links, the hyperlinks as well, which I thought I had gotten rid of. Maybe I just only was looking at one page, but I want to take care of those hyperlinks and make sure my references are formatted properly, which is generally the easiest part of a paper, is to make sure my references are formatted properly. So maybe not the easiest, but it's, easiest because it doesn't take, critical thought. I just need to make sure in a way it does. I just have to make sure I'm following APA, which I find kind of fun in a weird way too. I don't know why. So definitely go back through my references, make sure everything's looking good. I can even see, just looking through here, some weird, so, I can't blame it all on formatting and Google and Word, because, some of this is mixed up. So I'm going to blame myself for a good amount of this as well. And of course, me not double checking that before I submitted it is on me. So that also tells me, this time through, make sure I'm giving it a proper read through afterwards. So hoping that as we move forward this semester, this session, fewer illnesses befall me and my child, so I can give these the proper attention. Not that I don't want to make excuses. It has put a damper on my brain's ability to be a brain. All right. I think that's the gist. I think I have a pretty clear idea, and I'll go back when I do. As I make the edits, I'll rewatch my feedback again and just make sure I'm getting everything. But it all made perfect sense to me, so I feel good about that. I don't know how long this video is. It's not telling me how long I've spent. So I apologize if it exceeds the 8 minutes. Bye.